The champagne flute trembled in Sophia Chen's hand as she watched the couple at table 7, their laughter like knives against her composure, their easy intimacy a mirror reflecting everything she'd lost. 6 months ago, she'd been the one celebrating anniversaries at restaurants like Luminaire. Back when her fiancé's promises meant something, back before the diagnosis, that turned her mother's vibrant smile into a fading memory. Now, at 27, Sophia wore a starched black uniform instead of designer dresses, balancing plates instead of quarterly reports, her MBA gathering dust while hospital bills devoured her savings. But she'd learned something profound in her fall from grace. Pride was a luxury she could no longer afford, and survival required a smile even when your heart was breaking. "Excuse me, miss." The voice cut through her spiral of thoughts. Sophia turned toward the private booth in the corner, the one management reserved for VIPs. The man sitting alone looked younger than she'd expected, perhaps in his early 30s, with dark hair that fell carelessly across his forehead and eyes that held an unsettling depth. His tailored navy suit probably cost more than her monthly rent, yet something about his posture suggested weariness rather than arrogance. "Yes, sir? Are you ready to order?" He studied her face with an intensity that made her want to look away. "I have an unusual request." He paused, seeming to weigh his words. "I'll pay you $1,000 to sit down and smile at me for the next hour. Just smile. That's all." The absurdity of it struck her like cold water. Sophia's first instinct was to refuse, to walk away from what had to be either a cruel joke or something far more sinister. She'd heard stories. Wealthy men with twisted hobbies, dangerous games played with people who had too much to lose. Her grip tightened on her order pad. "I know how it sounds," he continued quickly, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "My name is Marcus Holloway. I'm supposed to be on a blind date right now, my sister's idea. She thinks I need to reconnect with humanity or some therapeutic nonsense. But the woman never showed, and honestly, I'm relieved. I haven't seen a genuine smile in months. Everyone at my company smiles because they want something, a promotion, a favor, my approval. You don't know who I am, which means if you smile, it would be real. You think you can buy authenticity?" Sophia heard the edge in her own voice. "That's not how it works." "You're right." His shoulders sagged slightly. "I'm sorry. Forget I asked. It was inappropriate." Sophia should have walked away, should have returned to her section, to the safety of routine and the careful distance she maintained between herself and the wealthy patrons who sometimes looked through her as if she were furniture. But something in his expression stopped her, a loneliness that echoed her own, a tiredness that transcended money. Against every instinct screaming caution, she pulled out the chair and sat down. "I'll accept your offer," she said quietly, "but with conditions. You donate that $1,000 to St. Mary's Hospital Oncology Wing. And in return, I won't just smile at you. I'll tell you why I think your request is the saddest thing I've heard all week." Marcus blinked, clearly taken aback. Then, unexpectedly, a hint of genuine amusement flickered across his features. "Deal. Though I'm not sure I'm prepared for brutal honesty. You're a CEO, right? You can handle it." Sophia set down her order pad, letting her professional mask slip just slightly. "You want to know what's sad? It's not that you're willing to pay for a smile. It's that you've forgotten how to earn one. Smiles aren't transactions. Mr. Holloway, they're moments of connection. Gifts we give freely when we see something worth celebrating in another person. And what if there's nothing worth celebrating?" The question emerged raw, unguarded. "Then you're not looking hard enough. Or you've built such high walls that nothing can get through." She surprised herself with her directness. "When's the last time you did something that had nothing to do with business or success? Something just because it made you feel alive?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment, staring at his untouched water glass. 3 years ago, before my father died and I inherited his empire, before I realized that running a company with 5,000 employees means 5,000 people, depending on your decisions. Every choice affects someone's livelihood, someone's family. The weight of that?" He trailed off. "Sounds isolating," Sophia said softly, and she meant it. Her own burdens felt crushing, but at least she wasn't alone in them. She had her mother, even in her diminished state, and the memory of who they'd been to each other. "What about you?" Marcus asked suddenly. You didn't sit down just to psychoanalyze me. Something in my pathetic request resonated, didn't it? Sophia hesitated. She'd become expert at deflection, at keeping her struggles private. But something about this strange encounter, its inherent temporariness, perhaps made honesty feel possible. 6 months ago, I had a corner office, a 6-figure salary, and a future that looked like a straight shot to the top. Then my mother got sick, stage 4 cancer. The treatments that insurance wouldn't cover, the experimental trials that might buy her a few more months, they cost everything. So I liquidated my savings, sold my condo, and took this job because the hours let me be with her during the day. And you know what the hardest part is? Not the money or the exhaustion. It's pretending, smiling at customers who complain. Their steak is too rare while I'm calculating whether I can afford her next round of medication. Putting on this mask of normalcy when everything's falling apart. The words tumbled out before she could stop them, and she immediately regretted the vulnerability. But when she finally met Marcus's eyes, she didn't find pity there, just understanding. I'm sorry, he said simply. About your mother. About all of it. Don't be. I'd make the same choices again. Sophia managed a real smile then, small but genuine. She taught me that some things matter more than success, that who we are in crisis defines us more than who we are in comfort. Wise woman? The best, Sophia's voice caught slightly. They sat in companionable silence for a moment. Around them, the restaurant hummed with conversations and clinking silverware, but their corner felt separate, suspended in its own pocket of time. Can I tell you something? Marcus leaned forward. I lost my mother when I was 16. Cancer, too, and I spent the last 15 years building wealth and power, because I thought if I just became successful enough, I could protect the people I love from that kind of loss. But here's what I'm realizing right now, talking to you. I've been so busy building walls against loss that I've forgotten how to actually live. It's not too late to remember, Sophia said. Start small. Do one thing tomorrow that's just for you, not the company or anyone else. Like what? I don't know. Go to a museum, take a walk in the park, call an old friend just to say hello. Something that reminds you what it feels like to be Marcus the person instead of Marcus the CEO. He nodded slowly, processing. And you? What would you do if you had a free afternoon? Honestly, I'd take my mom to the botanical gardens. She used to love the orchid. Room said they were proof that beautiful. Things could thrive in unexpected conditions. Sophia's throat tightened. She hasn't been strong enough to go in months. Marcus pulled out his phone, typed rapidly. What's your full name? Sophia Chen. Why? Because tomorrow morning, you're going to receive a call from the botanical gardens about their new, accessible tour program. They'll have a wheelchair, a private guide, and all the time you need in the orchid room. No charge. I can't accept. You're not accepting anything, Marcus interrupted gently. I'm making a donation to a public institution. What they choose to do with it is their business. Consider it payment for the best therapy session I've had in years. Tears pricked Sophia's eyes, and she blinked them back fiercely. Why are you doing this? Because you're right. I've forgotten how to earn smiles. But maybe I can start by giving someone a reason to smile genuinely. He paused. Also because 5 minutes ago, you gave me something I haven't had in a long time, an honest conversation, where neither of us was performing. Sophia glanced at her watch. Her break was long over and her manager would have questions. But for this one moment, she let herself feel the warmth of unexpected kindness. The reminder that compassion still existed in a world that often felt ruthlessly transactional. I should get back to work, she said reluctantly. Wait. Marcus reached into his jacket, pulled out a business card. My direct number. Not for anything weird, he added quickly, seeing her expression. Just if your mother's treatment gets overwhelming or you need resources, or even just someone to talk to who understands what it's like to watch someone you love fight this disease. No strings, no expectations. Sophia took the card, studying the simple embossed text. Marcus Holloway, CEO, Holloway Industries. Thank you. For listening, for the gardens, for making tonight a little less heavy. Thank you for sitting down, Marcus said. For not just smiling at me, but smiling with me. There's a difference. As Sophia stood to leave, Marcus called out one more time. "Hey, Sophia?" Your mother was right. Beautiful things really can thrive in unexpected conditions. You're proof of that. She smiled then, a real radiant smile that came from somewhere deep and genuine. Not because anyone paid her to, not because her job required it, but because for the first time in months she felt seen, not as a waitress or a former executive or a desperate daughter, but as a person whose strength and kindness mattered. Walking back to her station, Sophia felt lighter somehow. The hospital bills hadn't disappeared. Her mother's prognosis hadn't changed, and tomorrow would bring the same grinding challenges. But tonight, she'd been reminded of something essential, that human connection could flourish in the unlikeliest places, and that sometimes the bravest thing you could do was let someone see your struggle. Behind her, Marcus sat alone in his booth, but his expression had shifted. For the first time in years, he was already planning tomorrow not around board meetings and acquisitions, but around a walk in the park and a phone call to his sister to apologize for being distant. One conversation had cracked the armor he'd built, and through that crack, life was beginning to seep back in. Neither of them knew then that this chance encounter would become a friendship, that Marcus would be there when Sophia's mother passed 6 months later, that Sophia would help Marcus rebuild his relationship with his family, that they would teach each other what it meant to be wealthy in ways that had nothing to do with money. All they knew in that moment was that something had shifted, that two lonely people had found unexpected grace in honesty. Sometimes the most valuable transactions aren't about money at all. Sometimes they're about two people choosing vulnerability over self-protection, choosing to see and be seen. And sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone isn't $1,000 or a grand gesture. It's simply sitting down, offering your authentic presence, and sharing the truth that we're all struggling, we're all trying, and none of us has to smile through the pain alone.